Coco Gauff clarifies comments on American tennis fan support amid United Cup loss. Coco Gauff addressed recent controversy regarding her comments on fan support, which she discussed on social media before suffering a United Cup defeat to Spain's Jessica Busas-Minero. Gauff aimed to clarify remarks about American fans, emphasizing the visible enthusiasm at global events and her appreciation for existing support. Coco Gauff took to social media to clear the air about comments she made concerning the support American tennis players receive from fans. This move came just before her match at the United Cup, a tournament that saw the U.S. facing off against Spain's Jessica Busas-Minero. Gauff's performance was affected by the distraction, as she suffered a 6-1, 6-7, 3, 6-0 defeat to the world number 42, giving Spain a 1-0 lead. The young tennis star had previously commented on the disparity in fan enthusiasm between American and other international players at global events. Clarifying her stance, Gauff stated that her previous comments were observations rather than criticisms, acknowledging the logistical challenges fans face in attending tournaments. Despite struggling with the match, she expressed gratitude for any support, big or small, from American fans. Coco Gauff, between passion, perspective, and perception. Coco Gauff, at just 21 years old, already a two-time major champion and one of the brightest stars in world tennis, finds herself once again in the spotlight. But this time, it wasn't for an ace, a backhand winner, or a dramatic late-match comeback. Instead, it was for something much subtler and infinitely more human. A few honest words about fan support and how they were perceived. BC News. In the swirling atmosphere of the United Cup early in January 2026, Gauff's comments on American tennis fans sparked conversation and some controversy that seemed to grow faster than any headline about her play. Her response, not the quiet avoidance that many athletes choose, but a clear, heartfelt attempt to add context and perspective before stepping onto the court. Her weekly, a moment of honesty and a ripple online. In her pre-match social media post ahead of her singles match against Spain's Jessica Busas-Minero, Gauff took a deep breath and addressed what had become a talking point: her remarks on the level of visible support American players receive from fans at international tournaments. BC News. Her words initially stemmed from a press conference question, a genuine reflection, not a prepared talking point, on how fans show up, or don't, when American players compete far from home. In that conversation, she contrasted what she had observed: fans of smaller countries arriving in bright colors, waving flags, and chanting with unified passion, while American support abroad sometimes felt more muted. TennisUpToDate.com. A lot of players from smaller countries seem to come with their colors and flags, she explained. It's clear who they're supporting. They're weekly. But rather than standing back from her honesty, Gauff leaned in, explaining that her intention was never criticism for the sake of criticism, but context from her perspective. She acknowledged financial realities: not everyone can travel overseas to tournaments, and tennis isn't accessible to all, and emphasized that she appreciates any support, no matter how big or small. Republic World. I was asked and it was simply an observation. Nevertheless, I am grateful for any support no matter how big or small it is, she wrote. Republic World. The court, a tough stage for the conversation. Sport can be unforgiving. In the very match where Gauff sought to clarify her feelings, the result didn't go her way. She struggled early and ultimately fell to Busas-Minero in a 6-1, 6-7, 6-0 battle, a result that gave Spain a 1-0 lead over the defending champion U.S. team in Group A, ABC News. It was one of those days where the brain and body don't quite sync, and where off-court noise, however well-intended, can become its own distraction. For an athlete who thrives on focus, the swirling topics around her words and social media post were not the ideal mental landscape for a big match. Still, Gauff's willingness to speak authentically before play showed a maturity beyond the scoreboard. WSO's. A broader look: what fan support means across sports. Gauff's message inadvertently tapped into a deeper conversation about national fan culture, identity, and priorities in sports. The United States, after all, is a country with countless professional teams across football, basketball, baseball, hockey, and soccer, and a tennis fandom that often shines brightest at home events like the U.S. Open. Tennis 365. She suggested that because American sports fans have so many beloved teams and athletic spectacles to follow year-round, tennis may not always draw the same travel enthusiasm overseas. This isn't a value judgment, but an observation about cultural attention and priorities, an insight that resonated with some and confused others. This is Crack News. At team events like the United Cup or Davis and Billie Jean King Cups, where the atmosphere can be electric, sport becomes something larger than individual stars. It becomes national representation with flags, songs, and collective pride. For smaller nations with fewer global sports ambassadors, a tennis star's presence on court can galvanize a community, and the enthusiasm shows it. TennisUpToDate.com. Gauff just happened to note that difference, and it struck a chord. Reaction: a mix of support, surprise, and scrutiny. As with many things in the age of social media, reactions ranged widely. Some fans appreciated her honesty, recognizing the complexity of sporting culture and supporting her transparency in a world where athletes often feel pressured to give non-answers. Others wondered if her comments were insensitive, especially at a time when U.S. tennis is flush with rising stars and growing global interest. A broader group seemed to weigh in on what it means for Americans to support their athletes abroad, a conversation that goes well beyond Gauff herself. Whatever the angle, the moment highlighted how tightly intertwined sport, identity, and social conversation have become. Gauff's status, as not just a top player but a cultural figure, means her voice is heard far beyond the baseline of discourse. Gratitude amid honest conversation. Even as she clarified her words, Gauff made sure to affirm her appreciation. This was not about blame or a call for entitlement. It was a desire, honest and heartfelt, to see more Americans rally behind their tennis representatives on the global stage. Weekly. That empathy, understanding the financial limitations many fans face, yet still wishing for louder support, reflected the voice of a player who is grounded even as she rises. She stood her ground, clarified her intent, and made space for both critique and celebration. BC News. Her message was simple: authenticity over applause, and gratitude over contention. What comes next? A tournament, a team, and a fan base. Gauff's United Cup journey, both on and off the court, reminds us that tennis players are more than athletes. They are observers of the culture around them, participants in the stories that unfold off the court, and voices in a global conversation about sport, support, and community.